to dance to like crazy rhythm to date fucking trance to date pop culture and what it does to your head. Grab a beer, go online, rock with me instead.
Hey friends, thanks for listening. This is the MaD Radio podcast. I'm your host, Robert Davis. My co-host is Matthew Flowers. At the beginning here, we got yes, that is you. At the beginning here, we have a bit of a show note. Thanks to the generous, extremely generous donations from listeners just like you, we now have our very own website, MaDBroRadio.com. It's been a lot of work getting it there. There you can find eventually all the episodes, all our recent episodes, links to the YouTube. Every way you can find the show is linked through that website right there. And it's also where you can go if you find it in your heart to donate. All that information is there. And one more show note, we are now listed on iTunes. Just go to the iTunes podcast directory, search MaD Radio. We're there. We'd like to thank everyone who subscribed to us there. If you like the show, give us a star rating. Or if you don't like the show, give us 1 star. Whatever rating you give us.
Can we come up with like a stupid like tagline, like your source for all things MaD, MaDBroRadio.com? No?
I think currently we're operating under the tagline, "In Fillmore We Trust."
I like that one better, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. But on to the actual show. And again, thank you everyone for the donations. Those donations really help, and they're creating very real things.
Fillmore, bless you all.
Yes, Fillmore, bless you all. We have a functioning website now, and it's thanks to the generous donations of our listeners, and we appreciate all of them. Okay, so on to the actual show here. We are joined by an awesome guest. He's a published author. I've read some of his works. They're tremendous. He's joining us today. It is Mr. Brice Picher. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Absolutely. Why don't we start off? Tell us about your most recent book that you put out.
It's a Choose Your Own Twisted Erotic Adventure. The Babysitter Brings a Friend. And it's a take on a genre that I used to love as a kid, the Choose Your Own Adventure books. But of course it's an erotic adventure. But this one is a little different, where you are probably going to die. is how that one turns out. So
yeah, I just got my copy through Kindle. Find it anywhere else other than Kindle? Is that no?
That's it.
Okay, so on the Amazon Kindle store you can find it. Which is where I got my copy. I've noticed I've sort of been trying to work myself through some of the iterations of it, and every time I'm like, it's getting good, Dad. Yeah, I like one of the joys of a Choose Your Own Adventure book, and just like you, I used to love the genre, was the build up, wrong turn, dead. And right. I think the book really maintains that sort of feeling that you would get when you were reading the R.L. Stine version of a Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah, is that who did those? The kids ones? R.L. Stine?
I know the one I remember was by R.L. Stine.
I've actually never read one of his, but the ones that I used to get were all the Dungeons and Dragons type. You'd be have the sword, and you'd be in the dungeon, and those were the kinds that I fell in love with. But I know that R.L. Stine did some Choose Your Own.
Yeah, those are the ones I remember just spending so much time trying to just navigate my way through, and then I would inevitably break down and just flip page through page to find the ending that I knew was there somewhere.
Skip to your preferred adventure.
Yeah,
right.
There had to be one in which I didn't kill my character. There had to be one, and there never was. I was always disappointed.
There is in this one though. There is a good ending.
Forgot that this style of book was ever even a thing until kind of hearing about your book. So how did you even I suppose you read them as a kid, like you said, but I mean, the erotic adventure. Are there other people that put out stuff like this? Do you have a lot of competition in the market?
There are other people. I didn't know that when I started. I was like, this is going to be so different and it's going to be so unique. But come to find out, there are about 10. If you view my book at the bottom, it says people that viewed your work also viewed these, and there's 10 other ones from 10 different authors. So it's apparently pretty popular. I haven't read any of those, but one of them, one chick went so far as to go, you can either be a male or a female, which is pretty extensive. I mean, that must have taken a lot of work.
A lot of choices involved.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you're writing a choose your own adventure, do you just do you write out your happy ending? Do you just write out that entire story and then look at every place where your character made a choice and then write out another ending for that? Or do you treat each one like its own individual storyline? How does that develop?
This one developed by I started it, and I came at each fork in the road, I would just branch off, and it just developed from there. I just made up each one, and I knew that certain ones would be dead ends, and so I would leave those at the end, and I had them all outlined in Google Docs, and so I'd have different links that would lead to different Google Docs. So I was kind of building it out as I went, but there was no real outline to it. I mean, it was outlined, but I didn't plan it. It just kind of happened. It just kind of, fleshed out.
So when you write, when you put the first word into the keyboard, do you already know this is going to be a choose your own adventure, or are you,
Yes.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what the outcome is going to be already? What the desired outcome, or at least what a few of them will be, or anything like that?
Well, yeah, kind of, because it's the babysitter brings a friend. So I knew that at one point you're hopefully going to get it on with the babysitter. There's going to be a good ending. So I knew that I wanted there to be a way for the reader to make the right choices to get to the good ending. And there's only one way to do that. But as far as the dead ends go, I didn't really have any idea. That kind of just built. I just played it by ear, and it kind of, like I said, it just fleshed out. And
so, what's the order of operations when you put something like that together? Then, since you already have that is kind of the goal, do you write that out first and then set it aside and do all the rest, or how does that even?
No, like I said, I started with one Google Doc, and I made a link that was okay, this is the first crossroads. So this will go to, for instance, if you've read the book, you have a choice. You can either, your wife is being a real bitch, and she wants you to go to your anniversary dinner. It's your anniversary. And the babysitter showed up. She brings an unexpected friend. And so I knew that, you either have a choice. You can go to the restaurant like your wife wants you to, or you can go back into the house and hang out with the girls. So I knew that, that was a crossroads, and it kind of just built from there. And then I'd make another link that would be okay, once you go back into the house, do you, hang out with the girls? Do you go to the restaurant? Once you're at the restaurant, you have a different, set of choices, and it just built out from there. And, I would just create the different links, and I didn't plan it out at all, really.
Now, when you're editing something like that, where you have a bunch of multiple different storylines going through, do you ever catch yourself referencing something that happened in a different storyline?
Yes, that was pretty difficult, because my wife helped me. It was funny. She came out of the bedroom and she was like, that bitch has killed me 17 times. but she was like, he's wearing pants in this one, and he's not wearing pants in this one. So that got kind of difficult, but she helped me fix a lot of that. But yeah, that gets really crazy in points because you got to remember what he wore from one place to the next. And at one point you're in your office, but then in another place you're in your son's room. And that got kind of wonky too, because depending on where you choose to go, I had to remember that, and I had to, place you in the correct room. So
go ahead.
No, it really, it gets pretty complicated once you get into it, depending on, which choices you take. I had to take some choices out because of that, because, it just didn't fit.
Awesome. So, by the time it's, ready to publish, how many times would you say you read your own book?
I'd say at least 20 times. I went through a whole weekend where I went through it cover to cover a few times. And like I said, my wife helped me, catch a lot of errors. And I'm sure I hope there aren't any more, but, a couple of the endings were messed up that I had to, go back and fix. Like, choices went to a different section than they were supposed to.
Right on.
But, yeah, I about 20 times.
So you kind of addressed it right there. I was about to ask, like, after you publish, do you find more errors and you're like, it's too late, or do you?
No,
you haven't found any.
Well, no, I haven't found any. Kindle actually is cool, where you can upload as many copies as you want. Once you've published it, you can upload a different copy, which really helps, because when I announced it on the Rogan board, I was like, I'm done, and I thought it was perfect. But then my wife finally got around to reading it. She's like, wait, you've missed this, and I was like, shit. So I had to go back and upload a different copy. So I've probably uploaded 4 or 5, and I'm pretty sure I've caught them all.
Right on. So when you self-publish through Amazon, was that much of a hassle to get set up? Like, do they treat it like they're a normal publisher, or do they just like say, here's where you upload the file, we hope you make us a lot of money?
Right.
Pretty much the latter. Yeah.
Bring on the cash.
You have an upload button, and the cover goes in one section. You upload your file, and then you set your royalty amounts, your prices, and that's pretty much it. You set your description, and you're good to go. It goes live in about 24 to 48 hours.
Wow. So, I don't know if you want to give us like raw numbers, but like how, is this profitable? Do you think it's been like, monetarily worth your time, or is it just the enjoyment you've got out of it thus far?
Yeah, it's the enjoyment. It's, I never expected to get rich. I just read in the Daily Mail that some YouTube sensation published a book, and she's already sold more than Dan Brown and J.K. Rowling in the first week or something.
What?
I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't know. She's some makeup artist or something.
Oh, of course.
But, yeah, and it's like, she must be making ginormous amounts of money. But, no, it's nothing I plan to get rich off of. And I knew I wouldn't sell a lot of copies, especially at first. You have to do a lot of promotion. And the Rogan board, I mean, people say they read, but I don't know if it's, I let them do there, but, it's all the enjoyment of it. I love doing it, and, I plan to make it a series, so it's,
So have you already started on book 2?
I have. I've started the outline of it, and, this one is getting a little more complicated than the first one was, so I've kind of stalled out, but work kind of got in the way. But I'm definitely going to pursue it, and this one's going to be a little bit more complex than the first one.
Is that because you got it squared away with the first one, so now you're like, let's raise the stakes a little bit, put more options in, and stuff like that? It's
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
How good of a job does Amazon do of helping to promote it? I guess you said that there's links at the bottom of yours that kind of people that looked at this viewed this and things like that. Is it something where unless you're particularly searching for it, it's relatively difficult to find, or?
It really is, and I got kind of scared actually when I first put it in because I heard rumors and I read online that Amazon was cracking down on erotica, and they were completely and especially there were certain genres like bestiality, incest, and stuff that they were getting rid of. I got kind of nervous because the babysitter, even though she's of age, it's still a big age difference between the man and
it's a babysitter.
The girl. So I was kind of nervous there, but they let it through. I mean, there were no problems. I think the big problem was bestiality, that they were kids were searching for animals and getting all this smut in their Amazon search feeds. So I can understand, but there's a big uproar online if you search for it where people are like, Amazon's cracking down on erotica and don't publish it all. Don't even bother. But I'm glad I did. But no, Amazon really hasn't promoted. I don't know if they're making erotica invisible or more difficult to search for. But all the sales that I've made so far has been promotion on my end.
I gotcha. Well, I mean, the uproar has some merit, really, considering if you want to buy a book online, where do you go except for Amazon? And if they start cracking down on shit like that, I mean...
Well, exactly. And you have little kids who are searching Bear in the Big Blue House and getting someone's ebook of Bear with the Big Blue Balls. That's an issue.
Well, I mean, you would think they'd find a way to separate it as opposed to just banning it all outright or banning some of it that way.
Yeah, and some of the things that I think what they're doing is they're cracking down on the cover art. They don't want real racy cover art, which mine is pretty tame. Just the high heels.
So we went through this when we submitted to iTunes to be listed in the podcast directory, and that is, at least they say this is what they do. Someone actually listens to an episode of your show to make sure that you're not like espousing hate speech or something. Does someone at Amazon read your book before they publish it, or?
I'm not really sure, and I'm pretty sure that Amazon is hush-hush on what they actually do. If you look at the rumors online, somebody is looking through it to make sure there's no incest or anything. I'm not quite sure if people are reading it, but it does say your book is in review, and our review staff is looking at it. And if you submit if I edit it and submit a new copy, it takes 24 to 48 hours where it says it's in review, it's being reviewed by our staff. So I really don't know what they do. They may outsource it somewhere, and if it passes a first round of edits or reviews, it may go to another, where more scrutiny is placed on it. I'm not really sure, but the rumors say that they are.
I think that I found what I want to be when I grow up, which is ebook or erotica ebook reader for Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, like, how desensitized would you get to everything? I mean, the type of the type of nonsense that's in, and now obviously this is I guess erotica aimed at a different than, it's not your normal audience for that type of book. It's normally the 55-year-old woman who's the target for that type of novel.
That's probably right.
Yeah, it's pretty varied though. I don't know. The people that are writing it are pretty young. It all got really popular with the 50 Shades of Grey. Everybody, I guess, is targeting that kind of money. They want that.
The golden age of erotic literature.
Yeah. Which that's not why I did it. I just did it because I thought it would be funny. I really wrote it for the Rogan board. It was the Rogan board, was my muse, I guess. I wanted to write something that would have the porn aspect and the killing aspect all combined into one with the choose your own, which, Yeah.
And for listeners who aren't aware, we're all members of the Joe Rogan web forums, which is what he's referring to when he says Rogan board. It's a very large online community, and there's we've got our own like book club and everything. It's a really cool community.
Very cool.
That he's referring to. Okay, so do you have any other books that are up for sale right now?
I have a short story called Chiphead, which is a story that I wrote for a Lit Reactor contest.
Right, I remember this.
Is an online community that was started, I think, from Chuck Palahniuk's forum, if I'm not mistaken. He's the writer of Fight Club. Most people would know him by that. But it was a dystopian contest. I think you could either write utopia or dystopia, and I chose dystopia. And Chiphead is available on cypherscribe.com.
Right on. And it was spell Cypher Scribe for our listeners.
Cipher, S is in Sam, R-I, C-R-S, S-C-R-I-B-E.
There you go. And on there you can find links to all his books. I am currently making my way through his most recent offering, and so far I have no complaints. I highly recommend it. It's good for killing time, and in not that long you can make your way through a storyline and pick it up the next day and go through another one. It's been really satisfying thus far, and I really recommend it to all our listeners. Oh, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you find it? I didn't know if you were looking for it.
Oh yeah, I've got it pulled. I just signed up for your mailing list, actually.
Oh, cool.
And tell us about you're running like a decoding contest.
Yeah, I have a monthly cipher that I enjoy doing. That I update every first of the month, and it's just a coded message. Right now, it's just a simple substitution cipher where the letters are substituted with either a character or a letter or a number. And if you guess the message and mail it to cipher@cypherscribe.com, you get a prize. And so far, this is the third month. And last month we had a winner. And so I just updated it the other day.
Okay, I'm completely ignorant of this kind of thing. How does one even go about? I'm looking at it now. Go about solving a cipher.
This one is pretty difficult. Usually, what you'll do is to make it really easy. You'll look for apostrophes, so you'll know that like that's an S, and if it's apostrophe in a character, you'll know that that's probably an S on the end. Or if it's a apostrophe blank blank, it may be an RE, for there or something. That's the easiest way. I am going to give hints as the months go on, or as the days go on through the month, but that's pretty much the easiest way. Is this one doesn't have any apostrophes or anything. It's pretty difficult. I didn't want to make it really easy, but there's some pretty smart people, like I said, on the Rogan board. That's where the target audience is. But last month the guy, I forgot his name. Warlord, I think, guessed it, and I was pretty impressed.
Wow. Car just sped past you?
No, that was me, sorry.
Oh.
I had to open the window. It was warm in here, but and ever since then there's just been nothing but noise outside. I apologize. But so do you post the answer, is that how the right term for the cipher, at the end of the month?
Yeah. I published a blog on there also. When he guessed it, I published the correct answer. The answer last month was "There's gold in them thar hills," which is pretty difficult for the non-English speakers because that's pretty much an American term.
Yeah.
But it was, I published it in a blog, the answer. And that's probably what I'll do is as the days go on through the month, I'll post hints and then, I'll give the answer if nobody guesses it, but.
So what are we looking at for like prizes? Are we talking like money or like a free book or
a bag of cash or
Yeah, this one was a gift card. I'll just say that. That's what he won, was an Amazon gift card.
Cool.
I wonder, like, I would almost like, whatever happens, like the burlap sacks with the dollar symbol on them. Like,
Well, it went away.
They still
Yeah.
exist, don't they?
No, like,
In the
I
depths
want
of
to get
some
one of
vault
those.
somewhere?
Bank robbers used to, run through the old West towns holding 2 bags of sacks.
What do they use now? What replaced it? Why did it go out of style?
Guns.
Guns?
Yeah.
No, you can't put a wad of cash in a gun.
No, you just use a normal like
Duffel bag.
like no like I used to work security at a gambling establishment, and like if we had to move money from one place to another, it was just a normal like pencil bag. Okay, they just put the money in there.
Oh yeah, the little makeup purse style thing, or makeup
Yeah.
thing that goes in a purse.
But they lock, don't they?
No, they just have
Oh,
to
they
do,
don't?
Yeah, and the girl who worked at the betting stand, you're there with your gun and you walk with her and no one
Wait,
messes with you.
you carried a gun?
Yeah, dude. I've
They
talked about
trusted
this.
you with a gun at this? I knew you had the job. Wait a second. Someone gave you a gun?
Let's not talk about that.
Okay.
I live in Texas.
Well, that's
We'll
right.
talk
I mean,
about this
they
off
just
air.
hand one out with your birth certificate, right?
Well, I don't have a Texas birth certificate, but we'll talk about this off air.
Okay. But
Well, let's
we won't talk about it.
So I'm assuming are you pressed for time, Mr. Pitcher?
No, not at all.
We are going to move on to our normal segments here. The first one we're going to get to is we're going to go back to the podcast, Kate. What you have a Netflix account, right, Brice?
No, I don't. I got rid of it.
Really? What do
Yeah.
you like? You didn't use it enough, or?
Yeah, we watched a lot of I watched most of what was the Jericho. I watched a lot of those shows back to back, and now with everything online, I don't want to talk about my piracy habits, but I don't know. I just didn't really feel that we had a need for it. But I guess they're making a lot of unique shows or their own shows, right? Like House of Cards and stuff.
House of Cards, yeah.
For starters, we don't want to talk about your non-existent piracy habits.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, like we were both huge fans of House of Cards. That was just a tremendous show. And I guess Marco Polo is coming out in a week or two.
What the hell is that gonna? I don't know anything about Marco. I'm just gonna sound dumb. Never mind.
Netflix spent like $100 million or something making this show. It's supposed to be tremendous. It's like I forget, it's some famous director. I forget the name, but it's supposed to be tremendous. It's obviously about Marco Polo. But it's a Netflix show and it's coming out I think on the 12th, and I'm gonna watch it.
If it doesn't have Kevin Spacey, I'm not interested.
Right? Like
I've never even seen an episode of House of Cards.
Oh
it's tremendous. You have to not pirate it.
no!
Okay.
Pirate the fuck out
No,
of
I
it.
won't.
Pirate the fuck out of it.
No,
I saw Bill Burr's special was on Netflix, and that tempted me to sign back up. 'Cause I really want to see that.
Which would be it's December 5th, tomorrow, as of our
Cool.
conversation right now. It comes out. It's supposed to be in black and white as well, which I found was kind of an interesting thing. Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know why he chose that. He probably
had to
discussed
save
it.
money on cameras.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't have no HBO
That's
money.
okay.
This is Netflix.
There's been a lot of comedians putting them out strictly on Netflix, though. I mean, you had Tom Segura, Chelsea Peretti, Doug Stanhope's latest.
Right?
Oh, Rogan did have that first Netflix one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I may have to sign back up. I just watched the rest of Breaking Bad, and I love Bill Burr on that.
He's just he's the greatest. He's the greatest human.
He is.
He's really a bad person, but whatever.
Of course, Davis would find a way to dislike Bill Burr somehow.
Why is he a bad person?
Yeah, really.
Well, okay, I could be completely misassigning him. It could have been Marin or one of those other people that does a screaming podcast, but one of them attacked Dr. Drew very unfairly, and so I put all of those.
Okay, Davis, actually, Dr. Drew, he won me over.
Okay,
he was on the Duncan Truffle podcast.
He was a lot more reasonable than you were expecting, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were some things I disagree with, but he seemed like an all right dude.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a good dude, and if it's anything about drugs or medicine, it comes from a point of education, and the rest of it, he's just a libertarian hack. So
okay, so but your dislike for Burr is
he may or may not have.
If it was a screaming rant in your words, I'm gonna go ahead and assume yes, it was Bill Burr.
It could have been old. It could have been old school Mark Maron.
Did he go on screaming rants?
Oh, back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, see, I don't listen to his podcast. I don't know.
From what I
haven't in a while mellowed out.
Yeah, that's what I understand. He's mellowed out a lot since he sort of realized that he was screaming into a microphone in a room all alone
No, he always has a guest. What are you talking about? See, the only ones I've listened to, he seemed
Bill Burr is the one who's alone.
Yeah, Bill Burr's alone, and there's a lot of angry rants. I definitely think
Mark Maron used to do his show alone back when I listened to it. He would have a guest like every third episode.
I don't know.
It was a while ago.
Last night alone, 3 different tiny chatters told me I look a lot like Mark Maron now, Davis.
Kinda, sorta.
Your facial hair, you're starting to look like a man. We of course participated in the Movember. Did you, Mr. Picher?
Yeah, I never shave anymore. Now that I don't have a job where I have to interact with the public or anything, I don't even know where razors are.
It's actually helped me in my job where I interact with the public. They take me way more seriously. I mean, I'm a twink as is, so anything helps. But it's helped immensely. It bothered the fuck out of me for the first week or so, and then now it's November's over. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't shave this. I'm going for the end of the year. I think I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to let it go.
Man,
but Davis, of course, shaved his.
December 1st. I had to see. I remember I was doing my prostate self-examination, and I remember that it's not Movember, so I should go ahead and do I was trying to shoehorn something into December, but it's just December. I have to start prepping to be Santa Claus next year. There we go.
Next year?
Yeah, man. I've decided I'm going to join the Amalgamated Order of Real Beard Santas, and I need to go ahead and grow it out for next year.
Yours comes out quick though. You could have just kept your beard, not shaved it, and you could have joined this year.
Yeah, but I wanted to I wanted a 13-month beard, not a 14-month beard.
So why did you shave it?
So it could be a 13, not a 14 month.
Okay.
I don't understand why you're attacking me here.
Doesn't it have to be white?
Yeah, well, he'll dye it. Otherwise, he's got Santa Claus down to a fucking T.
No, I'm like the Arab soccer player version of Santa. I'll have no hair, and I'll look way too young to not have hair.
They just call you Young Santa Claus.
Yeah. I'm Lil Santa.
Lil Santa. Yeah, you're gonna release your first album next December on Cash Money Records or whatever Lil Wayne calls that thing.
Ho. That's
We should do a series of YouTube videos where you have adventures as like a young Santa Claus, because you never see Santa before he had the white beard, you know.
It's true.
Wait, didn't we in that little claymation movie with
Rudolph
and Frosty?
There was another one about like Santa when he was it was like his Genesis story, and like there was something with like a Yeti in a cave.
That was an elf.
That was an elf? No, there was one with Santa though.
There wasn't.
Oh, dude. See, now I'm going to find it, and I'm going to edit in clips from that movie periodically into this episode.
That's cool.
Just because y'all are doubting that
I don't think it existed, and you can do whatever you want with it if it does. But I really think that a young Santa Claus is like the perfect... okay, I have to change topics because this just reminded me. No, I can't bring up Star Wars. Never mind.
So, Brice, what shows have you been watching recently?
Breaking Bad. I just finished that one finally on Thanksgiving.
What did you think about the ending there?
I liked it. Part of me was left a little disappointed. I don't know why though. I can't really put my finger on it. Everything was tied up. I thought the Lydia went a little too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesse, I guess, got away. And, of course, I went right to, looking up the show, and I guess Vince Gilligan thought, or Gillian or Gilligan?
I think
Gilligan, I think.
There's more G's
G.
Yeah, there's another G there somewhere. I'm gonna stick with Gilligan. I think it's somewhere in the middle though.
Good. Giggling. But, he said that Jesse probably got picked up. We don't know if he got away, but I don't know, the way he died at the end, was it tied up? Were you guys satisfied with it? I was left. I thought it was a good ending. It tied everything up, but the 50 caliber gun in the trunk was badass. But I was left just a little bit disappointed.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I think I'm on the exact same page. I feel like it was satisfying. And because it was basically you saw it coming at that point. You knew shit had to end. I mean, you kind of knew more or less how it was going to end before that episode even started. But it felt kind of like hollow. Like it just didn't feel like it packed as much of a punch as it could have. Like they could have thrown in something just something out of left field that we didn't expect. I feel
exactly.
Like that would have made it just like, oh, what the fuck at the end, instead of just like, oh, okay. And Jesse, whether he gets picked up or not, driving out into the sunset, well, the sun's down. And what was that, an El Dorado or something? And it's like, I wanted to see him, like, of everybody in that show, he deserved at least the happy ending. And
you're right.
You don't get that. You don't even get I mean, they try to give it to you, but at the same time, it's fucking. We've watched Breaking Bad for 5 seasons. We know that you can't just drive a car into the desert and then be cool and have your hands clean of this whole situation. Right. So even despite the fact that he's smiling and pumping his fist in the air and shit, he didn't. That's not a winning moment. I mean, it is for that exact moment. He didn't die. He's not getting arrested then, but there's no, I don't know. There was no sense of like closure there or something. I don't know.
Right.
I was satisfied, but it just wasn't. I don't know.
I thought it was a really good ending, aside from 2 things. One, Jesse's beard in the car scene is so ridiculously fake. It bothers me. Like, you're making a show. Like, what was the budget of Breaking Bad? Like, that was a big budget show, especially that last season. You couldn't have like said, "Hey, we're gonna film for 2 days with Aaron Paul grow out a beard, okay, and we're gonna film just this stuff. You know what? We'll spend some money to get some people on location and come back in 5 months, okay?" Or like I
didn't notice that.
Oh yeah, his beard is so fake.
No, he was.
I thought he was lifting weights though. Did he look kind of swole? He looked kind of,
You know what it was? He was filming that
for Fast and Furious.
Need for Speed, right?
Need for Speed, yeah.
I bet he was shooting that without a beard. But you brought up budget, and they would put out a podcast, I believe, with Vince Gilligan and other people. And I believe that there was a couple of like scenes they had conceptualized that they didn't do because of, I may be wrong, but they didn't do due to budget constraints. And it's like, you have literally the biggest show of the last how many years, and you have constraints on the budget?
Yeah, like, what? Come on, AMC.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
The other...
Talk about him doing the pull-up out of the cage, by the way.
Oh, that was so
I got you. No, that was complete... Yeah, I mean, I like to see, like, if it's like a little dude character in a show or a movie, I'm backing them hard, and I want them to succeed. But yeah, that makes, it didn't make a lot of sense.
They didn't even show him doing the pull-up out. He unlatched it. Come on, bitch. He unlatched it, and then he was out running. And it's like, wait a minute. Hang on.
He didn't even stop to like...
P90X before
he didn't stop for heavy breathing, and he stretches. He just plopped it open and took off running. Like, there wasn't even like...
This is a guy who's been under starvation and light deprivation for days at this point, right?
Did somebody bring him ice cream at some point, and that was it? Like...
God. Yeah.
And by the way, is Todd not the best? Like,
he's so polite.
The best worst dude ever.
Well, they brought him in. That character is an exact mirror of Jesse Pinkman, right? Like, Jesse Pinkman is this basically good person with this very rude sort of street persona, and he couldn't hurt a fly. And Todd is so polite, but he is a ruthless psychopath killer.
Exactly.
And I thought that was such an interesting and well-developed idea that they waited until in the first season, there was some question about the Jesse Pinkman character. Like, we knew he wasn't a killer, but, we didn't know how, like, basically good he was. And, obviously the shooting of Gale aside, I mean, he didn't really do anything bad,
Well, and he was driven to that. I mean, he's always kind of just been a good dude, and he got progressively better.
And then right when we knew that, Walter White was the bad guy in the series.
He broke bad, Rob.
We knew that, Jesse Pinkman was the good guy. So, as soon as the audience realized what we were looking at, we suddenly had Pinkman standing right next to him, sort of doing the same thing while being his opposite. So then they brought in someone as a mirror to make it more obvious who Pinkman was in the show. And I thought that was a tremendously well-developed idea and concept that they put into that show. But the other thing that bothers me, and we brought up Todd, I don't like when the big bad villain that is conquered in the last episode of the series is brought in the last season of the series. Like, the Nazis were not bad guys until the final season.
Yeah.
And that bothers me.
Do you think that they were kind of brought in, thought up last minute?
Well, no, because, I mean, they were definitely involved in all of season 4.
They were mentioned, right? No, wait, wasn't it Todd's uncle?
It was Todd's uncle.
Todd's
that prison scene, by the way, if I can interject real quick, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, it was very good, yeah.
Jesus.
That's the thing that's probably why the last episode was it was good, but it was such a bummer at the same time, because you just had this build-up where it got to the point where it was like, oh, they only have like 4 episodes left or whatever it was. How are they going to wrap this up? And they did it very, very well.
Right.
With scenes like that.
And the fact is, they wrapped up so many storylines so completely and so well and in a satisfying way that the one storyline people focused on them not wrapping up was Huel sitting in the house. In the safe house.
There was an intense internet focus on that. Like, he's still sitting there right now.
And if there had been any other storyline that was like not satisfying, okay, if Breaking Bad had the Dexter ending, Okay, if Walter White just went off and was spoiler alert, he just went off and was a lumberjack in Oregon.
He's like, yeah,
okay,
fuck trees. I'm out of here.
Like, people would not even have noticed that Huel is still sitting in the safe house.
That's a good point.
I didn't even know that was an uproar that people were mad about.
Oh,
that.
no, I mean, it definitely was.
The internet exploded for like 2 months about Huel. It became its own internet meme because they never. It's the highest profile story that was never wrapped up in the show.
Yeah, lowest in the show and made the biggest deal about. Like that's a very good point. Yeah, you know they really wrapped up everything pretty well if that's what people are focusing on.
Yeah.
Like no one complains about all the have y'all seen Dexter?
No. I've seen I think an episode. I can't get past the narration thing. That bothers me.
I think I think push through because I think season 1 will get you. But the second season 4 ends. Stay away. It's the plague.
Bail out. And that's as far as I made it, I think. I think maybe season 3 is where I dipped out, but I just wasn't a fan of it. There wasn't anything that really kept me coming back.
Yeah, like that show felt, I mean, it's the episode 1 of season 5. That show just takes this nosedive harder than Lost did. Okay?
And that's saying something.
I mean, Lost fell off a cliff just like the Man in Black, okay?
Jeez.
And Dexter goes from like one of the best shows ever, and then suddenly season 5 hits, and 5, 6, 7, and 8 are insufferably bad. Especially the series finale of Dexter is the most unsatisfying, wraps nothing up, explains nothing piece of garbage ever.
And didn't they pit that against Breaking Bad?
It ran head to head with Breaking Bad. So people had the choice between what's the finale of Dexter or what's the finale of Breaking Bad. Okay, and Dexter has the worst ending of all time. And Breaking Bad is one of the best.
So
worse than Sopranos. Didn't that just go to black?
Well, no. See, Sopranos, they'd been building up that he would. Okay, so the episode before they had the. This was so long ago, I don't remember their names. The guy that talked about what do you think it's like when you die? Do you think it just fades to black? Doing that entire part 2 of that season, they were building to this idea of fade to black. And now knowing that, that's how it ends. When I watch it, I see nearly every episode has has something that alludes to it, or a character specifically talking about death and fading to black.
When it fades to black, did they play that Metallica song?
You mean Journey?
Is that a Journey? I thought it was a Metallica song. I'm sure Metallica has a fade to black song. Do they not?
Okay, in Sopranos, when in the last episode in the finale, it cuts to black and it's playing Just a Small Town Boy.
Okay, I've never watched the show. I just thought, it fades to black. It was a stupid.
Yeah, it's a tremendous show. Tremendous show. So you just finished Breaking Bad. And anything else you've been watching? Just watching the Cowboys suck?
The Modern Family. I've been watching a lot of that. I didn't like it at first, but it's growing on me.
Is that the one with Al Bundy?
Yes.
A lot of people talk that up a whole bunch, and I feel like I watched it once and was like, "What the fuck is everybody seeing in this?"
The writing is pretty. The writing is pretty smart. When the kids really make the show, they're all
like the kids or the adult kids.
We have Manny, who's the child of the Sofia Vergara with the real annoying accent.
She's like the 2014 version of Charo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Charo.
Wow. Are you
really
being serious?
I am. Yeah. Jesus Christ. When Davis says really, I'm like, well, that doesn't mean anything. But when both of you are like, what? I'm like, I feel bad now.
Charo is a very famous Hispanic female actress, singer from, the 70s and 80s?
Mm-hmm. I think her she was in one of the Smoking Guns, right?
Yeah, probably the last big thing she's done, other than like reality shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing.
She's real well known for having this real high pitched voice, and everything's in this thick Hispanic accent, and she's got these just ridiculous implants, and it's.
Is she hot?
Probably not now.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
is she like hit older lady like Courtney Love hot, or?
I think she's like 70 something.
Excuse me for using the term Courtney Love hot, but
yeah,
I'll look into her.
Yeah, you'll have to Google her. But yes, Sofia Vergara definitely fits that. You definitely coined her. But Al Bundy's pretty funny in that show. And the two gay guys, Mitchell and I forget Cameron.
There's the one that looks like Bill Burr.
Hilarious.
There's one that looks like Bill Burr, right?
Yeah, that's Mitchell.
Okay.
That's his character name.
So we need to check this show out. It's a comedy?
Yeah, it's a comedy.
Okay. So definitely I'll check it out now.
I'll check it out. I mean, yeah. It's all I don't have enough.
Grow on me. At first, I watched it and I was like, "What are you watching?" Because my wife was watching it first, and I was like, "What are you watching?" You know, I'd work in the background, and I'd kind of pay attention a little bit, but her voice, her accent, really got on my nerves, and it's just real dry at first, but then you start watching it, I don't know, it grew on me.
I'm a big fan of stupid network television sitcoms. Like, they're so harmless, and like, if you're just killing time, they're great. Like that Big Bang Theory, people like to make fun of it.
Dude, that's atrocious.
No, dude, there's nothing wrong with that show.
Okay, I've got this. I'm gonna pitch this to you. Have you heard?
We used to watch that pretty religiously, and now we've kind of fallen off of there. They're each getting $1 million an episode, or at least the three main ones are.
And they should. Like, if you look at the ratings so a show does not do ratings like that without being at least entertaining to the mainstream person. And that show it's not offensive to anyone. There's nothing, none of the humor is going over anyone's head. Okay, it is good for shut your brain off, watch some TV for an hour, and enjoy. Okay, like they're not trying to put a twist in like Lost. They're not time traveling. Okay, they're just doing a sitcom, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, and the ratings bear that out. You know, they deserve all that money.
What about the other characters, though? I mean, you've got Kutrapali, the Indian guy. I mean, he makes the show too, and the other guy, Wolowitz. But they're only getting like 350,000, I think, an episode.
Oh, yeah,
but if you
well, still, I mean, if your co-stars are making $1 million and you're making 350,000, you have the same amount of lines, and Penny doesn't even have a last name on the show. She's just Penny.
Well, like with the Wolowitz character, didn't they put him into space for an entire season because he was working on some other project?
Is that why?
Yeah. He was working on some other acting project while they were filming, so they put him into space. Or at least that was my understanding of what happened. I could be wrong but my point still remains that they basically had him sit out a season. Okay, his character was expendable. If you got rid of Sheldon, that show does not happen.
No, you're right. Sheldon makes the show.
Okay, so that's why Sheldon makes $1 million an episode and Wolowitz makes $300,000. Okay, because you can have him sit out a whole season and the show goes on. If Leonard gets in a car wreck or something, the show doesn't happen.
You're right. Leonard, those two deserve it. But Penny, she's a waitress. She doesn't really have that many lines.
No, but she's there to be the hot girl, and the whole premise of the show is that in our last episode, I was called the straight man of this episode. That's what her job is.
Yeah.
You have these two like geniuses who are doing their whole thing. She's supposed to be what every 40-something-year-old overweight housewife thinks she looks like, and it feels like when her husband's talking about all the politics she doesn't understand. Like Penny is supposed to be there, be a little thick, and be hot. And she does that very well. Okay?
Yeah, she does. I'll give you that.
So she deserves it, because if something happens to Penny, the show doesn't happen. Okay, like it's not the same show without that character.
That's true.
How much TV do you watch, Davis?
Oh, dude, I watch enough.
Oh, clearly. I mean, you've been trying to get me into West Wing, and I can only imagine you've been watching. I haven't checked not the Netflix towards it.
I'm on episode 6 of season 5.
Yeah, Christ, dude. You tried to get me into it. I haven't watched a single episode yet. And you have all this wealth of knowledge about all these other shows. I feel like my days are shorter than everybody else's. I don't know.
Well, here's the difference. You have a job and I don't.
That does change things quite a bit.
And you're also a furious alcoholic, so you don't remember all the shows.
I'm not
you watch.
This is the third time I've drank in 3 weeks, dog.
And
drink it.
Vodka and what Davis coined the term. Is it the dirty panda?
The filthy panda.
Yeah, you got to get the Gatorade Frost, Glacier Freeze. That's the light blue Gatorade, and Smirnoff vodka. That's the filthy panda, and that's what I'm drinking on right now.
Because like with alcohol, if it's dirty, it has to have olive juice in it.
Gross.
So we changed it from dirty panda to the filthy panda.
And by we he means him right now.
Yes.
Yeah, right now. That's when it was changed.
No, dude. See, this is the problem. This is just like, okay, yes. We were arranging this recording time with our guest, and Matthew was there, and he was like, "Hey, shouldn't you have talked to me before you picked out a time?" And we had the same conversation like the night before, but he apparently didn't remember because he was just so intoxicated. Yet.
No,
he's not a furious alcoholic.
I did say, I recall saying to you, any time is fine.
We talked about specific times.
Oh, okay. Well, I apologize. It was fine. I mean, that was my first day getting back to my normal drinking habits, and so I forget some things.
Of being blackout drunk at 8 p.m.?
That wasn't 8 p.m. That was at least 10, 11 p.m. But that conversation happened when you were drunk last night, so fuck off.
Hey, hold on. We're making fun of you, not me.
You just had a legendary whatever. So
stay on message here. Okay, you're the drunk, not me.
I'm the drunk. So back to the podcast, Kate. You want to know what I've been watching, Davis? Do you?
Okay.
Do you want to ask me?
Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Davis. What's up?
What have you been watching on Netflix?
I watched because I'm a big fan of Lost, and he happens to be directing the new Star Wars movie that comes out next December. 387 days, I believe. It could be 86 now. Which will undoubtedly be the best movie of all time. J.J. Abrams, Star Trek reboot.
Yeah.
Pretty good, isn't it? Both of them were on Netflix, but they're not any longer. So I went to check it after the trailer for the Star Wars movie came out last Friday. I got super excited. I was like, I'm gonna watch this. I hate Star Trek. I hate it. And I was like, but I'm gonna give these movies a shot. And the only one that was on there was the second one, not the first. And I watched it, and it was pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, I think of the two, and this is not to say anything bad about the second one, because I think they're tremendous movies, like on their own. I enjoyed the first one a little bit more, but I enjoyed both of them a tremendous amount. All
the Star Trek nerds completely hate on the second one.
I'm a Star Trek nerd.
Well, and they say it sucks because Khan was supposed to be some like Mongolian dude or something weird.
He was Indian he was British of Indian descent. which is fine. There was nothing wrong with it because in the alternate universe, it makes sense if you pulled him out of the Botany Bay, I guess 30 years sooner than it would have happened in the other one, that you could say he would look younger and whatever, okay? In both he had a British accent. It doesn't matter, okay? They're different movies that take place in different timelines, just in the same universe.
Well, I don't know about all of that, but I enjoyed it. And you know what it led to was, as soon as the movie ended, I started watching Star Trek on
Awesome.
on the Netflix.
Which one?
The TV shows?
It's funny, yeah, the television show. I started on like 3 different ones, and then within the first 10 minutes, I cut them all off because I was trying to look for the one that would be that would come on TV late, very late at night when I was a kid, like trying to go to sleep or whatever, like the late 90s.
Voyager.
No, I went to Voyager.
Deep Space Nine?
What's the one with... No, it started with Voyager, then I cut it off, then I went to Deep Space Nine, cut that one off, and the third one was the one that kind of rang true and was familiar to me. The one with the gal that's the captain.
That's Voyager.
That's Voyager?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Captain
I'm sorry.
Janeway. That's my favorite Star Trek. And
I may have
had the
started
same
with...
story.
what's the one with... the guy from X-Men, the bald dude.
That's the Next Generation.
Right, so I started that, and I watched 45 or 50 minutes of the first episode. Shit was lame as hell, dog.
Yeah,
like, that was,
dude,
terrible.
The first, like, halfway through the second season of TNG is right when it starts to get bearable, okay? That show was horrendously bad the first and second seasons. Like, seasons 3 on is just good television. First episode was, and it wasn't the fucking graphics. I'm not in, it wasn't that I was like, I was like, well, this was made in the fucking mid to late 80s. I understand it's not going to be 88.
Right. I think it was 87 actually, but maybe 88. But,
Is it that old? I thought it was made in the 90s.
No,
see, that's what I thought.
Season 1 of TNG was 88.
I thought I remembered it. That was the one I had watched as a kid. So then I was like, well, that's obviously not it. Look at this. It's terrible. Then I moved on to Deep Space Nine, and I started it, and I was like, this is kind of cool. And I'm like, it didn't bring about, I don't know.
You wouldn't like Deep Space Nine until season 5. Like, if you jumped in, like, episode 1 of season 5 and sort of realized that you're not going to be as introduced to the characters, and there's some things you're going to have to look up on Memory Alpha.
Which is the Wikipedia of Star Trek, right?
Yes, Memory Alpha. And for all the Star Trek stuff that's non-canon, there's Memory Beta. So for all the comic books and everything. But I think if you started Deep Space Nine in season 5, I think that's when it turns into much more of an episodic week after week show and not just an independent episode, like individual storyline episodes.
I definitely liked it a lot more. But then I was like, this doesn't feel right, so I skipped to Enterprise, and that's it. I found my place.
Voyager?
Oh, Voyager, sorry. No, Enterprise is the main one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Voyager is my favorite Star Trek because at like 11:30 at night on UPN, which was one of the few channels I could get on the TV that was in my room, it would come on right after Thursday Night SmackDown.
No, that's literally the same, like, minus the weird man love wrestling reference. That's exactly why I was drawn to that one. Is it used to come on TV late at night after whatever I was watching ended, and it was one of like 3 channels I could get that was still operational at 11:30 or midnight.
So let me give you some advice. If you're going to go on a Voyager journey, if you start the episode and you feel like it's about to be an episode about Chakotay, who is Robert Beltran, the Hispanic first captain, just skip that episode.
Okay.
They're not important and they're terrible.
You know who my favorite character is? I don't know any names. I've only watched the first episode, but I was in.
So they were just pulled in by the caretaker array. Okay, they're Janeway was sent on a mission.
You really are a Trekkie, huh?
No, dude, I know everything about Voyager specifically, like everything. Well, you know what I mean. But episode 1 is it's a tremendous setup for this season because storylines that started in episode 1 are finished in the finale of the series.
Right.
It's the only Deep Space Nine did it too. My advice for Voyager is if you think it's going to be about Chakotay, skip it.
Okay. Guess who my favorite character would be? I don't know any names, so you're going to describe it.
Your favorite character would be
Okay, there's two. After just episode 1.
Okay, Tuvok, the black guy, Vulcan.
Black Spock, yep.
Okay. And then you would probably be a fan of Tom Paris.
No.
No?
Well, I don't know which character is that?
White guy,
nope.
Drives the ship. No?
Nope.
Who's the other one?
It's that dirty, weird alien dude they pick up that loves water.
Neelix.
Yep.
Well, he didn't love water. He loves people and to cook.
Well, no, he didn't have any water. And then they bring him on. He's like, oh my god, you guys have bunches of water. He takes a bath.
Yeah, Neelix. He's there for the entire series. Him and Tuvok have a nice little friendship. In fact, there's an episode called Tuvix in which the transporter malfunction. Tuvok and Neelix are they're merged into one person called Tuvix. And that's in an episode with a huge ethical dilemma on does Janeway order the execution of this new person in order to save the other two people. It's this ultimate utilitarian fantasy of a dilemma, and Janeway is faced with it with two completely opposite characters in Neelix and Tuvok. But yeah, it's interesting that you picked out those two. Now, Mr. Pitcher, do you have any Star Trek opinions?
No, I've never really been a Trekkie. I remember watching The Next Generation on the little black and white TV that we had at the place I was working when I was in high school, but that's about it. I've seen the new movie. I don't think I've seen the second one though. So
What'd you think of the new movie?
I thought it was good. It was entertaining.
In one thing I just realized, the reason why you didn't get what I was saying about it being a different timeline is because that storyline was in the movie you haven't seen. The entire premise of the first movie is that there was a red matter accident, and the two new movies literally take place in a different timeline.
Oh no, I know all of that. Trust me. Yeah.
Okay, you know all that. Okay,
I do. But that basically your explanation. I can't get it. I can get into it. I have gotten into it, but your explanation for all the things that you've said in the last 2 minutes is why I don't really like Star Trek a whole bunch.
Oh, well then skip every...
It's why I'm very pro Star Wars in terms of this star versus star argument there.
Well, let's be real here. If we're having a Star Show debate, I'm coming down firmly on the Stargate
because the winner is clear.
I know it's Stargate.
Oh, Stargate. Fuck.
Stargate.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so what is this? I can't.
So, okay. I think we've exhausted our actually, you were Mr. Pitcher. You were saying something.
Oh, I liked the movies. The original Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan, was badass. I remember when I was a kid, that earwig or whatever that went in the...
Oh, yeah, the worm.
Yeah.
That was tremendous.
That was cool.
And it made its comeback in the first movie.
I don't remember. I was probably fucked up. I went to one of those pub theaters where you can order alcohol.
Yeah, when the Romulans have Captain Pike captive, they drop one of those slugs in his ear.
I do. Yeah. Okay. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, those movies were just good. J.J. Abrams, people make fun of the lens flare and how he likes to step on previously canonized things, but that dude makes good movies that he's not trying to put in a bunch of twists. He's just making entertaining shows, and that's why the new
Star Wars too, right?
I know the Star Wars movies they're going to be so good.
This is going to be the best. Never mind. I can't even get started on Star Wars. I literally spend at least 2 hours a day reading all the new rumors, all the new shit. I post since I found a forum that just only talks about this episode 7 and shit that's been the leaks and the rumors that have come out about it. I have pretty much ceased all of my posting on the Rogan board and only posted on this forum. I'm obsessed.
Did Mark Hamill lose weight for the movie?
Oh no, they got personal trainers for Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill ASAP. Like,
okay,
is she in a bikini?
What's that?
Did they put her in a bikini for this one?
I don't think that's gonna happen. No.
I know on Criminal Minds there was an entire season where Mark Hamill was the bad guy. And it was really weird because, like, for a while there, he got so big that he was, like, not recognizable.
No, he got super fat. Did you know? I'm sure you probably did, but you watched the Batman cartoons, right?
Yes.
As a kid, he was Joker. He was the voice actor. Yeah,
I knew that.
Oh, really?
That was kind of a. He's. I don't know. That was
he's prolific, dude.
Yeah, no, he's a prolific voice actor. Which makes a ton of sense. I mean, if you're Luke Skywalker, you can't just barge into a movie.
You can't do acting anymore.
Right, you're done. I mean, your face is. I mean,
which
that's true.
How did Sir Patrick Stewart get over I can't go see the X-Men movie. Well, first off, because I don't like X-Men, but then I can't look at him and see Dr. Xavier or whatever. I see him, it's Jean-Luc Picard only. When I see Kate Mulgrew, it's only Captain Janeway. I see Scott Bakula, I want to kill him because he's John Archer. Okay? All the Star Trek people are just, especially the captains, they can't do anything else. Like, what else has, wow, I'm forgetting his name, Avery, Captain Sisko. He can't do anything else.
That was a whole lot of Star Trek references, and I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, William Shatner was able to move on.
The Reading Rainbow guy.
Well, LeVar Burton.
Oh, he was the guy with the eye thing, right?
Yeah. He did Reading Rainbow, which that was a successful thing other than Star Trek.
Well, I mean, young kids. I mean, they're not.
By the way, it made me so happy when he did that Kickstarter, and it took him 10 hours to raise $1 million.
That was cool, yeah.
That made me so happy. I cried.
Okay, so were they raising money to bring back the Rainbow Reading?
So LeVar Burton, they're starting an app, basically, that's a Reading Rainbow, and they're setting up a whole educational program so that they're going to give to underprivileged schools, and it's going to be basically Reading Rainbow, not on TV, but YouTube videos. They're going to have an app that's all interactive.
Take a look. It's on your phone.
Yeah.
No, take a look. It's on ebook.
Yeah, there you
Reading
go.
Rainbow. Yeah. Yeah, and the Kickstarter was to create that whole distribution thing, and every stretch goal meant that they could give the program for free to that many more poor schools, because all the rich schools they're gonna charge them. It's a for-profit deal.
For sure.
But the Kickstarter was every penny over $1 million is going into giving it away free later. And it made me so happy that like Reading Rainbow is going to continue to be a thing.
Do you think it will still continue to impact? I don't know that it's going to have the same. Well, I mean, nothing educational wise will have the same sort of impact that it did.
I'll say this: I had no clue. I brought up the Reading Rainbow Kickstarter, and my 8-year-old nephew knew every word to the theme song.
That's cool. That's a really cool thing. Then
this is a kid who has never been allowed to watch television.
Huh?
Okay.
He's just forbidden. Well,
long story.
Okay.
But yeah, and he knows every word to the Reading Rainbow song.
Well, how does he know that then? That's all.
Because the Reading Program programs are already in schools.
They're being pushed. That's cool.
And and that was before. It was a valuable teaching tool that schools were using, and the new program is going to allow them to expand how much professional setup and be able to do it more efficiently and have better production on the stuff. And it's really cool that that's remaining a thing. And it's so sad that No Child Left Behind took it off air.
Oh, is that what
true?
happened?
Yeah, No Child Left Behind considered federal spending to make above basic reading, so like any programs that were there to like foster a love of reading was defunded. With all of them. Anything above basic like learning how to read was completely cut as part of No Child Left Behind, and it resulted in all the funding going away from PBS to do Reading Rainbow. And the reality is that was an expensive show to make. You had to get the rights.
All those dazzling graphics cost a lot of money.
Well, like the expensive part was the one where like they'd send LeVar Burton onto on location, and you need cameras for those and the equipment and stuff, and the distribution for all of that. And if you're going to have whatever famous person record the audio, you have to send one of your people out there to do that, and however many takes it takes them. Like, that was an expensive show to make. And George Bush killed it.
That is kind of a funny sentence there, though. Like, we're going to encourage reading.
But as long as you don't
not the love of reading. You just need to learn enough. You need to learn to read just enough so that you can read stop on that stop sign.
Yeah.
Then get out of here, Fag.
No, upside down.
What are you gonna do? Read poetry? Get out of here.
Now, you're a bit. Was Reading Rainbow a thing when you were a kid?
Yes, very much so.
Like, so it was already on at that point. Yeah. I know I'm making you sound super old, but
no, I'm 38. I remember watching it on TV, and I loved it. It was I don't really remember what else was on around that time, but it was definitely a staple. It was something I watched all the time.
Yeah, like, kids don't watch PBS anymore, and that's a real shame. I mean, that's that they watch like the Nickelodeon, and every kid has cable, right? So I think it's really sad that like all those educational shows, like Sesame Street, like if you watch it now, that show is garbage. It's just not entertaining. It's Sesame Street.
Monster is not eating vegetables or something. What's going on?
No, Oscar the Grouch is like on pills or something, because he's so like toned down. He's not yelling at people anymore. He's all about being nice to his neighbors.
What's going on, Oscar? Oh, nothing. I'm on new Zoloft.
Right.
I feel great today.
Like
we had the electric company growing up. 3-2-1 contact.
The The Sesame Street would lead right into the Reading Rainbow, 2 episodes of Reading Rainbow, and then Arthur would come on. Okay, Sesame Street's garbage, and Reading Rainbow and Arthur are off air, which is so sad. Such a sad statement. And you see the same thing. Like, how much better informed was America when they got their news from Jim Lehrer than now when they get it from Bill O'Reilly? Like, I realize people, when you look at other countries and you say, oh, the state-run media, okay, NPR, if you want mostly non-biased news, like, yeah, every now and then there's going to be an opinion piece that has a little bit of a slant to it, but when it's actual just news being reported, NPR is the best at being non-biased and telling, hey, these are the facts, this is what happened. And I think it's done a lot of harm to the public awareness of people, that they now get their news from Rachel Maddow and Neil Cavuto, and not from Ray Sanchez or whoever is on NPR now.
Well, NPR is kind of fucking boring. Most people want a dramatic dude or woman yelling in their face that everything's terrible because of this and this and this, and you need to do this, or, you know what I mean?
That's pretty true.
But I'm saying that's what people want, and people should have that option. I'm just saying that I think the public's notion of what the truth is so off base now that, I mean, people... I don't watch Fox News, okay? Because it would make me angry seeing all the spin on it, okay? If I'm going to watch a 24-hour news station, it's going to be MSNBC. It's all confirmation bias. I know it. I'm only going to watch the shows that I'm going to agree with. And I think that is sort of the fact that is the normal, that everyone has cable, and that is how everyone finds out what's going on in the world, opposed to here is the NPR, which is going to provide baseline, non-biased reporting most of the time. I think people were much better informed.
Well, that's why it's been... Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, maybe they have less raw information because, you know, the news hour was 1 hour and it was every night. Now you have 24-hour networks. Maybe they have less information, but they were better informed, if that makes sense.
But that's why it's been phased out, is people don't want that. They don't want to have to deal with just articulate, non-biased facts.
And they don't want to put their own... They don't want to put it together themselves. They want somebody to tell them what's going on. They want spin.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the advent of the internet and technology and things like that is a great thing, but at the same time, it just gives them, it gives people that don't want to think 1,000 options. They can just, I can go to Newsmax.com, or I can go to fucking the Drudge Report, or I can go to Fox News, or I can go to MSNBC.
Huffington Post.
Yeah, the Huffington Post.
I read the Daily Mail. That's where I get my news.
I read Reddit. Like, I just go to World News Reddit, and if I'm in my car, it's always on NPR. But I get most of my news from just the aggregate.
I don't get news at all unless it pertains to Star Wars Episode 7. No, I'm serious. I've quit looking at the news for the last 6 months, probably.
It's probably healthier that way. It's very depressing. I was staying in California at my aunt's house, and she has Fox News on 24/7. And you want to kill yourself after 2 days.
It's so...
Jesus Christ, the world's falling apart.
Yeah, it's so depressing. It's like the most bleak outlook you could ever have on any subject.
Seriously.
And, I hang out with my dad a couple times a week, and he's got Fox News just blaring. And I don't say a whole lot about it, but when I do, it's like, no, this is real life. This is the realistic standpoint. It's like, oh, if that's where your mind is at, that's great, but I don't know. I can't subscribe to that. I don't know.
My major problem with Fox News is that they blatantly lie about facts. One of the things, if you look at President Obama's record, you cannot say it's a failure that he's done nothing. I realize I am biased when I say this, but when Barack Obama gets criticized by Fox News, it's never a fair criticism. There's tons of things you can fairly criticize the president on, but you can't criticize him on unemployment. He took office, it was 10%, now it's 5%. Can't criticize him on the deficit. It's 80% lower than it was when he took office. Like, there's lots of fair criticisms, but Fox News just lies.
Well, I mean,
like there are people who honestly believe that unemployment is higher today than it was when he took office.
Well, no, there's people that you will bring it up to, those sort of facts, and they'll say something like, "Well, that's because of Bush's policies. They're just now,
carrying over."
Exactly, it's carrying over, and that's that. I mean, they will always believe whatever they want to believe. I mean, once they're indoctrinated into a certain thought process or whatever, once you're a Fox News watching, like, this is my station, I mean, there's no fucking with that.
Well,
you're not going to like Obama to begin with.
That's
right.
The thing is, like, the whole thing that all the economy is because of Bush. Well, then you can't give Bush credit for the good years of his presidency. Bush had 7 solid years of an awesome economy. Or there was a hiccup after 9/11, but Bush had some really good years with the economy.
Right, but you're using
if they're
logic here.
Yeah, I'm saying I am all for people if you want to have that incorrect opinion that the upswing in the economy is the result of Bush, then you have to give Clinton credit for everything
right
that Bush achieved. And if you're willing to do that, I will accept your analysis. I'll reject the premise, but I will accept that it's not just you saying words that you think sound smart.
But that's all that it is. That's the problem. There is that you can never get to that point in at least in my experience, with anybody that's a Fox News gung-ho motherfucker. Like,
and let's be fair, it goes the other way in that 90% of the people who are supporting the Ferguson protests have already made up their mind, and they don't want to look at the actual facts of what happened in that case. So on the liberal side, you have the same thing.
No, it definitely goes both ways, and you can't argue in either direction.
But more recent, does anyone here have any big opinions on the Eric Gardner situation?
I just think the cops are out of control. I think if there are any terrorists in the United States, I think it's the police. That's an unpopular opinion.
I think it's an increasingly popular one, and I definitely agree with it.
Myself and Randy Marsh from the Stone Socialist podcast talked about this a bit in the last episode. I think the militarization of police is a real big issue.
Very.
But specifically with the Eric Gardner case, and I said it way too many times in the last episode, but I spend large parts of my day studying crime. Okay, and one of the things that happens when you do that is you become very well versed in law. Okay, obviously I don't have a law degree. I'm not pursuing a law degree, but when I saw that video, it looks like a second-degree murder. Okay, the officer acted recklessly in a way that caused the person's death, and because the person was not acting aggressively, or being threatening in any way, the officer does not have that protection of the law. And the whole argument has essentially turned into, well, he had asthma and he was overweight, and his cause of death was a heart attack. And people don't really want to look at the fact that, and I've used this analogy like 10 times on the Rogan board. So, Matthew, let's say you have AIDS.
Let's say.
Okay. Matthew, if I shoot you and you die a month later as a result of an infection, what is your cause of death? Your cause of death is complications due to HIV/AIDS. But I killed you, right? Because I inflicted an injury that resulted in your death, right?
Right. I mean, I wouldn't have died had I not had AIDS. And this is a good situation to even think of.
But even though you already had AIDS, so the pre-existing condition, I acted in a way in which a reasonable person would assume would put you at risk of life, right? Like if I shoot you, a reasonable person says, yeah, you could kill someone doing that. Or if I choked you, because a reasonable person would say choking someone can kill them. Whether or not the choking itself actually killed you, it set in motion a series of
events that led to your death.
Events
My guess.
And that is the legal standard. That's why the guy who shot Reagan they're considering bringing more charges because one of the guys he also shot there died recently.
Well, I read about that. That's kind of crazy, though. Years later.
Yeah, it's like 20 years after the fact, and they're not going to get it because it's a little too long. But their argument is that he had all these health problems, and he eventually died from a health problem that he developed while in treatment for the gunshot. Which that's a bit more of a stretch than I think the law would allow. But in general, if someone is sick or ill or has some sort of condition, and if someone has a seizure condition, okay, and you do something that a normal person would think, okay, a great example, okay, if you rob a bank and a 90-year-old man has a heart attack while you rob a bank, you're guilty of murder. Because you did something that a reasonable person would say is dangerous, that resulted in a person's death. Whether or not they died of a gunshot wound or a heart attack and they're 95 years old, you killed that person. Legally, at least. It's a second-degree murder. And when I see that tape, that's what it looks like to me.
So why was the officer not charged?
Because they, from what I understand, they were able to successfully confuse the jury by turning it into an argument over whether or not it was a chokehold or a headlock. Which
wow.
The method in which he caused this person to die is the reason why.
Well, if I put you in a headlock, that's not going to kill you. If I choke you, you can't kill someone with a headlock. You can kill someone with a choke. That's the major difference there. Okay, if he headlocked him and it resulted in his death, a reasonable person would say, if I'm just squeezing your head, I'm not going to kill you. If I'm squeezing your neck, my understanding in the state of New York, you need a simple majority for an indictment, and they couldn't get that because they created confusion as to whether or not it was a headlock or a choke.
That's kind of crazy because I've been in plenty of headlocks, and it definitely constricts your airway.
Yeah, well, and people who say, oh, if he was being choked, he wouldn't have been able to. They always say he was yelling out that he can't breathe. That dude was struggling to just say he couldn't breathe at all. Okay, I've been in tons of chokes. Okay, I train, bro. I do jujitsu. Okay, and I've been choked where you can't, there's very few chokes that prevent you from being able to pull in air or push out air. Most chokes cut off blood circulation.
Right.
Okay, and even chokes that cut off actual wind circulation, you can still force out words like tap, tap, tap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can't breathe is very reasonable when you can't breathe. Okay, and that's another thing. Part of the statute, and I looked it up earlier, in New York for second-degree murder is you have to show a depraved and indifferent view of human life, and the fact that they made no attempt and in fact disregarded his pleas that he can't breathe, especially when the other officer was saying that's enough, get off him. You know.
Oh, and the guy just held it out.
He let go of the choke, but stayed on top of him. And one of the things, he was a very heavy man, and the medical examiner ruled his cause of death to be a homicide as a result of compression of the neck, chest. Okay, so his weight on top of him, in conjunction with the man's already overweight, in poor health status, resulted in him being unable to breathe. So he was telling the truth. He couldn't breathe because he couldn't breathe. And eventually his physical death was caused by a heart attack, which happens. You know, like that's you put a 500-pound man under extreme stress.
Oh, yeah. I mean, your heart's going to go out.
Are people rioting right now as we're talking?
Oh,
I know that they were coming back out.
I hope so, because that's such a ridiculous... and the other thing is, they didn't have legal authority to place him under arrest. Okay?
Yeah, what was it? He was selling cigarettes or something?
No, guess what? He didn't have any. Okay? He actually hadn't been doing the crime.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that was part of the issue, is that apparently the same officer had stopped and detained him like once a week for like the past 3 months, thinking that he was out there selling individual cigarettes, which is not legal in New York.
Right, and he had been.
Well, like he did it like once or something, and he got the officer's message and he stopped doing it. But like the previous, I think 4 times that he had been in contact with the officer, he had nothing on him. And at that point, it was becoming a harassment. When you watch the video, he's highly agitated, and he's saying, I am tired of this harassment. And from what I understood, you know, he was being harassed, and he wasn't under arrest, and the officer just comes up behind him and starts choking him. They had no reason to put him in handcuffs. He wasn't acting violently. He was acting highly agitated, which is your right when you're not being detained. In fact, at one point in the little yelling thing, he says, I just want to go home, and the officer shakes his head like he wasn't allowed to. And part of the officer's argument was that he was not being detained because they didn't have a legal right to detain him.
Oh. And the story being pushed around now is that they didn't charge the officer, but they charged the guy who filmed it.
Yeah, which is so ridiculous. You should be able to film, since those officers are public employees, so everything they do should be part of public record.
Yeah,
right.
That's the fact that has happened. The officer is not charged with anything, but the person filming it is. Is very, it's kind of showing of like that's why people are getting so aggressive about it and why they should be.
Yeah. Well, think about it this way. Eric Gartner died because a police officer was attempting to enforce a law set up to protect the tobacco industry.
Right, and this guy is getting charged because he happened to be there filming it. Like, had he not been there, none of us would even know it ever happened. This dude would just be another corpse put into a grave somewhere, and you wouldn't. I mean, it'd be the officer's words.
And the officer tried to cover it up. Like we have a documented history of the attempted cover up of this story. They didn't know a video existed. Okay, and they tried to say that there was no chokehold, and then they changed it to there was a headlock. The officer initially said that like he took took an aggressive stance, and we know that's not true. Like, we have a documented history of an attempted cover up here, and no one's being held accountable.
And that's the scariest part. I mean, that's some really, really scary shit. Because, I mean, you could get pulled over anywhere for doing anything at all. I mean, whether you're committing a crime or not, a cop could pull you over, and if he's having a bad day,
you could end up dead.
You could end up dead, and there is literally zero repercussions for that on his side of the table. I mean, in this case, there was actually a dude filming it when he got killed, and what did that do for anything?
Have y'all seen this case in Denver where the
lady?
Yeah, like they beat up some dude and his pregnant girlfriend or
Punched
wife
him 6 times in the face to keep him from choking.
Yeah.
I thought is the Heimlich maneuver going to be replaced by punching people 6 times in the face? I thought that comment was pretty funny.
They tripped over his pregnant girlfriend, and then the guy's filming it on like his iPad, and they come and get his iPad and smash the thing to bits.
The last I read was the FBI is on the case, and there's a city camera that I guess caught the whole thing that was kept filming after this video was supposedly deleted by the officer who grabbed the iPad and said, what'd you film this with? What program did you film this with? So hopefully they will catch the officer that deleted it.
Well, they have the video because it was saved to iCloud.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So they had the video it took, and it clearly shows two police assaults happening, and then they come and take someone who was completely in every legal right to film what was going on, and then they destroyed his property and then tried to arrest him for, I forget what the charge they tried to put him on, but they tried to arrest him after destroying his stuff.
It's ridiculous. Did you see the lieutenant on TV, like, goading the guy to come in at the police station, like, we want to talk to him, being all cocky?
Yeah.
Because they know that there's no repercussions, and even if they get caught, they get what? A vacation, a paid vacation?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if anything, any of these in the last couple months have shown anything, it's you can literally get away with murder, and it's fine. Not
to brag on my home city here, but Dallas had a recent case that was actually handled the correct way. 2 officers were responding to a call of a man who had escaped his mental institution. The man was a paranoid schizophrenic. And they show up to this call of a mentally ill man, guns drawn, screaming at him to get down on the ground. Okay. Event leads to, events happen. They end up shooting this man several times. And they try saying, oh, he attacked one of us or whatever. Turns out the whole thing was on video, and it shows them just showing up and scaring this mentally ill man who was actually complying at the time they shot him. And they were both fired, and they're both being charged with the aggravated assaults.
Great. No, that's awesome. Okay. So in that situation,
if there hadn't been video, then it would have been absolutely nothing.
That's outrageous. That's ridiculous.
But that situation, hold on. So he complied with them. He started to get down on the ground.
Yeah, like you can tell he was terrified. Okay.
Where was he? Where did this all go down?
This was like in like the entryway parking lot of some sort of business that was a couple blocks away from a mental institution the man was staying at. Here in Dallas. This was a man who had been institutionalized a long time, and to the best of my knowledge had never like done anything violent before. But he got out, and they called the police to assist. And if you're a police officer, you get mentally ill guys escaped from his institution, you go and babysit them until the institution people get there, right?
No, you draw your guns.
They thought they were going after Michael Myers or something.
Yeah, like they go in there, guns pulled out, and it's clear the guy's terrified. Apparently he was a paranoid schizophrenic, okay, who's probably hallucinating or something. And these police officers are pointing guns at him, and it's a little slower. Like he's a little slower to react, but like he has both hands on the ground, and like he's going to put his stomach on the ground, and then pop, they start shooting him.
So what do you think that is right there? This is what I want. Okay, do you think the first guy shot, and then the second cop there was like so scared, or like when a gunshot goes off, then if your finger's on the trigger already.
I'm going to assume both of them shot because they're both being charged, but I don't know for a fact that both of them did shoot.
I know they both shot. That's what I'm thinking. I'm speaking from like the point of view of the second cop that shot, because clearly there's no danger to either one of them.
Right.
So the first guy shoots because I don't know. I have no explanation for that. But that second guy, does he shoot just because he heard a shot?
Yeah, like I think at that point, like you hear gunshots, you're just like boom, boom, boom.
Right. Yeah. If your finger is on the trigger and you hear that, I don't know.
I understand that they have a very stressful job. I couldn't imagine pulling somebody over for a simple traffic violation, going up to a tinted window or a window. I mean, you don't know who the hell is behind the wheel. You don't know if they have a gun or whatever, but these cops, they get all these military toys. And they're trigger happy. They're quick to shoot a dog. Somebody made a good point. All the dog shootings, mail carriers put up with dogs all the time, but they don't shoot dogs. But these cops they're quick to shoot a dog, and they have stories of cops landing in the wrong yard, and a dog is there what's it going to do? It's going to protect its own yard, and they just shoot the dog in front of the family. I think that they're trigger happy. Do you guys see those?
They kind of operate as like whenever there's an explanation for that, like, oh, I had to do it. That dog came up, it was aggressive. They operate like some sort of, when it comes to like a situation where they shot a dog or they shot a fucking person that they had no business shooting. It always comes down to like, well, that's just I had to do it. That they came at me aggressively, and it's like. Well, you don't operate in this world of like you're a fucking robot that just does this one thing, and oh my god, there's an aggressive four-legged creature in front of me. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, I didn't know what to do. Sorry, that was my training. Well, what else was I left to do? What was I left to do? They always fall back on that. Like it came at me aggressively, and it's like, well, I understand you're in a line of work where people do come at you aggressively, and yes, you have a gun for a reason, and that's to defend yourself. But at the same time, can you not be like an actual human? Like, to be like, oh, that's a dog. Of course this dog is going to come at me. All this dog knows is defending this area of land, and that's their fucking land.
And has anyone, either of y'all seen a dog actually attack a person? I know I've seen dogs, like, they run up to someone and they'll bark at them, but I've never seen a dog, like, run up to someone and start, like, attacking them.
Yeah, like rip on their arm or something.
I'm the biggest pussy that you could ever find when it comes to dogs or anything, really. I'm just a huge pussy. But I'm super scared of anybody's. If it looks like an aggressive dog, I'm the first to be like, I'm gonna back away, But like, I've never been in a situation walking into somebody's yard where I'm like, oh fuck, this is life or death. This dog is gonna kill me, or I have to kill it.
Go right for the throat.
Yeah, like I've never been in that position, and like I'm completely terrified of most animals. I had a cat for almost a year, and that cat fucking made me its bitch. Like, I never once thought I need to stab this cat in the fucking head or it's gonna kill me. Like it's especially when you're trained with a weapon that could end human life in an instant. to be that, like, I was just super scared. I knew that dog was going to get me if I didn't get it. But that's such a bullshit argument.
And it happens so often.
That's the biggest
Hear about that cop that slit that dog's throat?
What?
No.
Yeah, I forget where that happened, but the cop, it was acting aggressive, and so he slit the dog's throat. Are you in front of a computer? You got to look it up.
Oh no, we're both in front of computers. Yes, I'll look it up. Do I just Google slit dog's throat?
Yeah, cop slits dog's throat. I mean, it was
Tell us about it while he's looking it up.
All I know is it was. I think it was tied up, and like even his partner was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like he just nonchalantly just slit the dog's throat.
Okay, so I thought typing in "cop just slit dog's throat" would be like too vague. It wouldn't bring up anything. No, it did. It definitely did.
There's like
Baltimore. This is the headline. Baltimore cop was just doing his job when he slit dog's throat.
There you go.
Animal cruelty charges so heinous. How do you say that?
Heinous.
Heinous.
Genius.
I don't know. There's a lot of E's and I's in that word. Now the attorney for a Baltimore City police officer accused of killing a Shar-Pei.
Yeah.
Is it? I pronounced that one correctly.
Yeah.
Is asking a judge to drop the charges. Christy, whatever her last name is, explains the officer's attorney is arguing his client was authorized to kill that dog. Accused of slitting the throat of a 7-year-old Shar-Pei named Nala, Officer Jeffrey Bolger.
Okay, could you read the story and then summarize it, and not just read it word for
but
word?
I mean, it. Okay, whatever. Fuck you.
I know, but listen to you struggle to read words is riveting radio.
Well,
so while we're on what, 2 hours now?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, dude. It's almost midnight.
2 hours, 1 minute.
Yeah, so while Matthew is looking up our Fillmore fun fact of the day, if Brice, could you tell us once again where our listeners can find your find everything you have to push?
Yeah, cypherscribe.com has it all. The monthly cipher, my books.
You're on Twitter and Facebook and all that good stuff.
I'm on Twitter. My Twitter is on that website also in the footer, and I don't have a Facebook. That's pretty much it. Just a Twitter. And
I said it earlier in the show. I highly recommend. I haven't finished all the iterations of it yet, but so far I've really enjoyed the Choose Your Own Erotic Adventure. The Babysitter Brings a Friend. Did I get that right?
Yes, Choose Your Own Twisted Erotic Adventure.
Oh, there you go. See, I knew I was forgetting something. But what I've got through so far, I've really enjoyed. I highly recommend it to everyone. Check it out. It's on Amazon. How much on Amazon?
$3.13.
Awesome. Is that a significant number for some reason, or is that just what Amazon?
13 has always been a lucky number of mine, and
you're such a rebel.
I just chose that. Yeah.
All right. So cypherscribe.com. You can get links to everything there. And we have appreciated wow, I'm going to try that again. We've appreciated having you on. Matthew,
I had a lot of fun.
Matthew, what is our Fillmore fun fact of the day?
I haven't looked it up yet because no, I mean no.
What were you doing? I gave
this
you
dog story, dude. No, don't fucking cut me off when I'm about to talk about a Shar-Pei getting knifed.
See. So you finally read it. Can you summarize it for us?
I read that first article, and you were absolutely correct. Had I continued to read it, it would have been extreme disappointment for the podcasting. The listening podcast audience.
The episode is an extreme disappointment.
Well, maybe. Jeffrey, I just want this guy. Fuck this guy. Jeffrey
Guess,
Bolger.
Is he a bald white guy?
He's not bald. He's got okay. He's not bald. Guess his haircut.
Okay, mustache.
No mustache. See? Okay.
Reflective sunglasses.
Nope.
Crew cut.
It's a crew cut, grown a little long on the top, and it's like kind of spiked, like he put some gel in it.
Oh no.
Okay, he's 49 years old, and he was booked on felony animal cruelty charges.
Spiked hair at 50?
Right before he cut this dog's neck, he said, I'm gonna which I'm gonna assume is fucking. So I'm going to fucking gut this thing.
Jesus.
And basically this dog ran away from, somehow got out of her owner's yard and went to a neighboring yard, and one of the neighbors touched this dog, and the dog bit them. They called the police, and the person that called the police already regrets it because hold on. Okay.
So what you're saying is he chose to go to the restaurant with his wife.
No, okay. When he cut this dog's throat, he had this dog down with a knee on its chest, pushed to the ground. You could hear the dog screaming and crying in pain. I did see one officer that had been extremely aggressive that did have his knee into her chest that was tightening the noose. It seemed they were doing it relentlessly and unnecessarily. That's when Bolger, who's been with the force since 1992, allegedly pulled a knife on the canine. Unfortunately, at some point after the dog was contained, one of our officers used a knife and cut the dog's throat.
Yeah, so,
Jesus.
Yeah.
I remember reading that, but I didn't know details.
The MaD Bro Radio podcast does not endorse that guy.
Yeah, no dog throat slitting is endorsed by this podcast.
Like, in general, like, I don't even support zoos, much less people who kill animals.
Right, no.
Like, by the way, like, do any of us have opinions on, I have opinions on aquariums, yay or nay?
Like fish aquariums?
I was unaware there's aquariums that don't have fish.
Well, yeah, they have reptiles. Reptiles are kept in aquariums sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Iguanas.
that's true.
He got you there.
Yeah, you win. No, but like, I am firmly against zoos and aquariums.
Really?
Firmly
Why
against
aquariums?
them. Okay. So one of the things with zoos is people say, oh, well, they mimic the natural habitat, right?
Right.
It's one of the ways they justify it as being okay that we're taking these animals out of their habitat and putting them somewhere where we can charge $9.50 and then an extra $6 for cotton candy, and you have to have the T-shirt. We run businesses around putting lions in an enclosure. The elephant exhibit at the zoo mimics their environment the same way a prison cell mimics ours, right? It has a nice little sink, a toilet. Oh, they get a bed. They even let them go run around out in the yard every now and then. It mimics it in the same way, and it's not the same thing. People value their freedom of movement. Well, animals do too. How many animals at the zoo are pack animals where they travel in packs of like 500 and there's 3 of them at the zoo, and they migrate from one place to another? Well, there they can go from one side of their 12-foot cage to the other, even though they put some trees up and made it look awesome. They're still keeping them in a prison cell. You know what?
I agree with you 100%.
I gotcha.
Zoos and aquariums through and through. I'm with you.
The aquariums, though, I think the fish aren't that bright, though, right? I mean,
I don't think that matters. I think it's a living it's a living creature that if you saw some dude who was laughing while cutting its head off, you would think that dude has problems. I think that's my standard for
when am I ever gonna run into a dude that's laughing while cutting his head off? That was a terrible example.
No. Okay, other more common examples of the same thing. The kid who tears the wings off a butterfly. That stupid hymn song, but like that's a real thing.
I'm glad you threw in the hymn reference.
Okay, the kid who used a magnifying glass to kill ants, right? Like if you did that, like you're a sociopath. Like. Yeah. That's not okay.
Right,
like,
but
you're indiscriminately killing things for your entertainment.
I feel like there's a big leap there. And I again, I've already agreed with you. I don't think that we should have, the zoos.
I agree with the zoos. Every time I go to the zoo, it's very depressing. The bears are all depressed, you can tell.
Well, and like with the aquariums, what's the suicide rate of whales that are kept in captivity,
Oh, I have no idea. What is
whales are different than goldfish, though.
No,
I think goldfish have a memory of 3 seconds, but a whale, I think their frontal cortex is larger than ours.
That's been disproven. Like, they've trained, you can train a goldfish to go through an obstacle course.
Can you really?
Okay. Yeah, the Mythbusters people did it.
I need a pet goldfish.
I stand corrected. No kidding.
Yeah, the Mythbusters people, they trained a goldfish to go through a little obstacle course.
That's a low maintenance pet.
Yeah, it wasn't that complicated, but it was several steps that there had to be memory there, and it was over the course of days.
Interesting.
And I don't think the intelligence factor matters. I think it's the life factor.
Morality.
I think we pick the worst of our worst people to put in cages, but we pick the most aesthetically pleasing of. We don't pick the asshole lion, okay? We pick the one with the fullest mane.
That's very interesting.
Damn, you're getting deep, Davis.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm in same thing with aquariums. If they're all just very sad places to me, in which we've taken these creatures out, and I realize some of these creatures wouldn't survive in their habitat, but that's nature, okay? A lot of people don't die. A lot of people can't survive in their habitat. It's too hot or whatever.
Right.
That happens.
Where do you draw the line on domesticated pets?
I think so we have ones like cows and cats and dogs where they're so far along in their breeding. No, like there's domesticated.
No, I like
cats.
how you started there. When he said domesticated pets, you started with cows.
Well, because cows are sort of the example I like to use, in that cows are so far along in their breeding process that they don't have an easy way of just getting up when they fall over.
No, but cows are not domesticated.
They are.
I mean we
so that they. Yeah, you know what I mean. They're
okay.
I say domesticated because they've been bred for a specific human purpose.
I think when the term domesticated is used, it's like the animals that chill with you in your bedroom.
Okay, yeah. And like with cats and dogs, they're so far down that road that dogs do have an attachment to people. Okay, I don't see a problem there, in that a lot of people if people who treat their animals well, okay, and I think that dogs that's the point they're at in their evolution. That's acceptable. Same thing with cats. And we do draw a big distinction between the domesticated cat and the other big cats, right? Like the cats that weren't bred to be domesticated.
I think when it comes to cats, the line that we draw is big enough to fuck me up. if it gets pissed at me.
Can you imagine if a cat was as big as a dog? Jesus Christ, or like a big dog?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I was just looking at videos of bobcats in Michigan last night.
They're terrifying.
No, they weren't that terrifying. That's the
really?
the problematic thing here. Is
But if I have an inside...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Well, if I have an inside cat and an inside dog, but I want a goldfish, I mean, I'd love to have a goldfish on my couch, but it doesn't work. I have to put it in a body of water.
Exactly.
Right? I mean... So the aquarium is just a convenient way to keep a domesticated fish.
I mean, it's the only, arguably, I suppose, but it's the only way to keep a domesticated fish. That's the only way you could domesticate a fish, really.
But so is that wrong? What if the fish is? I mean, I'm feeding it, I'm taking care of it, presumably.
Well, I wasn't talking. Okay. That's not, I think the level of, like, wrongness there is much lower on the scale. It's, like, barely tips the, maybe a little.
So what's the difference there?
The difference is you're taking breeds that weren't bred to be, or you're taking species that weren't bred to be in a fishbowl, okay?
Okay, so they weren't bred to, who was breeding these species?
Goldfish? I'm pretty sure those.
You're using the term "bred to be" as if somebody was breeding them to.
Excuse me. Their evolutionary process led them on a path in which they were easily put into this, and now they're farmed out for that purpose. Okay, there's no more like natural goldfish anymore. It's all farmed goldfish for domestic ownership.
Is that true? We can't find a goldfish in the wild?
I don't know if it's not true. I would assume that a vast majority of goldfish on Earth have been farmed.
Well, at this point, yeah, but okay.
I think that there is a difference in that there's a big difference between a clownfish and a goldfish. Okay. Clownfish is one that you're taking out of its habitat and putting into your museum because kids like to learn about Nemo. I realize I don't have like I wish I could give you a really good answer about exactly what that line is, but it's one of those things that I just intuitively feel. I don't have that big of a issue.
It really does come down to that line, though, in terms of like what's okay to put into a cage and look at. And what isn't?
Well, I'll say this with my mom's dog. I would not allow her to cage train him because it would just break my heart to have to put an animal in a little cage like that. And
that's a dog. I mean that's a whole. It's kind of a different thing.
I'm saying that if we're using the fish example, I don't get queasy, or I don't get those like, I don't know the word for the feeling, but I don't get that like weird feeling when I see a goldfish in a bowl that I do when I see all the fish at the Walmart fish aisle. Okay, like when I see that's it's tremendously sad to me.
Go
ahead.
Do you still have a fish aisle at your Walmart?
Yeah. It's huge.
Oh my God, no! I mean, they all had them for like a long, long time. There's not a fish aisle in any of my Walmarts. And trust me, I explore all.
Go back by the pet food.
No, I explore all of the Walmarts a lot, and it's all gone now. But you know what? I might be wrong there. But anyway,
right, he didn't have a cat anymore, so he no longer buys cat food. So he just hadn't seen it since.
I never bought my cat food at Walmart. I went to PetSmart. My cat ate the best food. Whatever.
Lamb chops.
Yeah, exclusively. Okay, so
our Fillmore fun fact of the day is...
Don't cut me off here. We're still in the middle of a debate.
You were literally not saying anything.
I understand that. I just don't see the difference, really.
And my response to that is I do not know the words to put to what that line is. It's something that me, in my experience, happens. And I'm saying that the fish aisle at Walmart causes me to feel icky. A single goldfish in a bowl does not.
So, okay, what's the point at which it changes? Is it 2, 3, 4 fish?
I'm literally telling
bottom
you.
Feeders, though, those little bottom feeders suck to the side of a fish tank. It's almost like they're meant to be in a fish tank.
Yeah.
Algae eaters.
What I am saying is that I can't put words to what the finite line is between the two. I'm saying I have a big problem with aquariums.
Okay,
and the fish aisle
with
Walmart.
the aquariums, is it dolphins? Like, is it like?
Oh, absolutely dolphins. But I'm like any fish I see at an aquarium, it bothers me.
Okay. Well.
Okay, like there's no largemouth bass at the aquarium, right? Because you can just go to a lake and get that. At the aquarium, it's all like exotic stuff that's not from around here.
Yeah.
It's stuff that you had to fly that in. But yeah, I didn't think we'd get off on a whole. Actually, yeah, I did, but I didn't think we'd go this long on aquariums. I don't know what that line is, and I'm sorry, I can't be more specific. It's one I just know when I see.
What about snakes in an aquarium?
Absolutely not. That bothers me just as much too. I mean, who else is do we really need to have snakes in an aquarium to so everyone knows what the logo for Slytherin is based off of? I tried.
All right. Our Fillmore fact of the podcast.
The fun Fillmore fact of the day. Praise be to Fillmore.
On February 10th, 18... Fuck off. Don't interrupt.
Fillmore Akbar.
What was your
It was Fillmore Akbar. Instead of Allahu Akbar?
Great.
No? Fillmore is good? Okay.
On February 10th...
I think that was a brilliant joke that you just laid out on because you just weren't willing to go with me, and I don't appreciate that, co-host.
Noted.
Okay, go.
On February 10th, 1858, Fillmore married Caroline McIntosh,
Okay.
a wealthy widow. Their combined wealth allowed them to purchase a big house in Buffalo, New York. They were noted for lavish hospitality in their home until Mrs. Fillmore's health began to decline in the 1860s.
So he was a gold digger.
I ain't saying he's a gold digger, but he wasn't messing with any sort of broke women.
I like how the definition of wealth for a president was he could buy a house.
Right, we got a house, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this brings up a topic. How active on Twitter are you, Mr. Pitcher?
I'm not very much at all. If I see like one of my friends tweet something, I'll retweet it or something, but I hardly ever get on there.
Well, we now have at MaD Radio. Follow us on Twitter.
I sure will.
And one of the things are not gimmick. We have a firm belief that, before I go into the Twitter, in your opinion, who was our best ever president?
Who was in my lifetime or ever?
Ever. And why is it Millard Fillmore?
He could buy a house.
Right. No, but like, who would you say, or like not just best, just favorite one?
I would say President Clinton. He was by far the most entertaining.
Really?
The most charismatic. He had by far the most entertaining scandals.
Really? Even more than Andrew Johnson, who had to be sworn in twice?
And Andrew Johnson was involved in some duels too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that may top all.
My favorite, the whole thing with him having me sworn in twice is my favorite. He was so drunk that they were worried that his first inauguration wouldn't count because, he couldn't remember it.
That's awesome.
Like,
that's my kind of president. I take mine back.
No, to be fair, it's not like he was a raving alcoholic. He wasn't planning on Lincoln to get shot that night, but he was just that drunk. But on our show, our favorite president is Millard Fillmore. He essentially laid the foundation for U.S.-Japan relations, and he's the last Whig president. Praise be to Fillmore. And as a result, our people you may know, because I sent out a tweet about Millard Fillmore, one of the very first ones the at MaD Bro Radio did, and all of our results were these Twitter accounts of former presidents. So here's Rutherford B. Hayes, here's Calvin Coolidge, here's the Millard Fillmore account, and of course James K. Polk. So I follow all of them. And who are these comedic geniuses who run the accounts of these dead presidents?
No kidding.
They're some of the best accounts on Twitter are these gimmick accounts. There was one, it's Rutherford B. Hayes, was it was one of them. One of those accounts was so who remembers the last time a Whig got reelected? Haha, neither do I. And I was retweet.
That's hilarious.
There's some really smart comedic genius who's probably running all of these. They're switching between Calvin Coolidge and Herbert Hoover and arguing over whose fault it was. They're so great.
That was that was probably the golden era of Twitter when it first started popping off. When it was, it was important, but everybody was oh, this is actually going to be very important. And then somebody just swooped in, I'm sure, and just knocked out all of those. It has to be the same person, right?
Yeah, it's the comedy is too good across all of them. There's not the Harry Truman account. It's not that funny. And there's not the Thomas Jefferson account where the person gets on there and
somebody
complains
just
about
and fucking owned the show.
Yeah, and apparently there's some people who have wasn't it Ryan Lidke who owned the Pace Picante sauce account?
I don't know, but I like me some Pace Picante.
Yeah,
I know that much.
Look up that whole deal with their Twitter. He started an actual scam.
No, Randy Lidke.
There you go, Randy Lidke.
He's on the, check it out, all of our listeners. It's way better than our podcast. The Bone Zone podcast. Brennan Walsh, Randy Lidke.
Oh, yeah, I like the Bone Zone.
I don't like how they as a matter of course, every episode they decide they're just gonna have this audio orgy of everyone saying everything at the same time.
That was Davis's uneducated thoughts on the podcast.
No, I used to listen to the show, like, back up till, like, episode maybe 70.
Okay.
And that's what they were doing at the time that made me stop listening. I'm sure they're on
I think
episode,
I know what
like,
you're
200.
talking about. I did the same thing. I stopped.
And it was just because, like every episode, they had, like, this, like, 30-second period where it was just, everyone was just gonna yell and make noises.
Right, it was fun. That's fun. No, it was, that's what I love.
Not for listeners.
Yeah, not for listeners. Like, if you're a drunk degenerate.
I'm not a member of their podcast. I'm a listener as well.
And I'm saying there's 3 people here, and 2 of them didn't like it. So it's obviously scared away a large percent of their audience.
They trimmed the fat. They narrowed it down to the audience that they wanted to have. And I love it.
Well, that's you're well within their right. So speaking of podcasts, this has been the MaD Radio podcast.
I have one thing to say before we end this.
Oh, God. Go ahead.
This is the first podcast where I have I've had to pee, and I couldn't leave. I couldn't take my headphones out and leave, so I peed in a bottle. And
Nice.
So it's your turn. You give it a little sip. No, like I did it.
No,
like,
I'm not gonna do that. That's gross.
No, I did it for the show.
I'm not
I
doing
think
it.
there
No,
should
it's
be
still okay. So
there needs to be a small amount of reciprocity here in that
I don't even
put
know that
all
word.
this.
Stop that.
I do something, so you do it in turn.
MMA fighters do it all the time.
I could tell from the context. That's what it meant, Davis. I'm not gonna do it. So it happened once, and then I was like, "Oh, this is great. I don't have to pee anymore." And then it kept going on, and then I had to pee again. So I did it again, and then the bottle got like too much filled up, and I was like, "Shit, I have nothing else to do here." And that's where we're at right now. I just wanted that to be on the record for the podcast. I've never pissed in a bottle ever in my whole entire life.
You have trouble aiming
in this one podcast. No, I mean it's a Gatorade.
So okay, so this is I'm sure terribly interesting to our guest and all our listeners, your urinary habits. So while you are going to the restroom and relieving yourself, you filthy animal, one last time, because I want it to be right at the end of the show, it's going to be cypherscribe.com, the choose your own twisted erotic adventure.
Volume 1.
Volume 1. I'm sorry, say it correctly.
Choose your own twisted erotic adventure, Volume 1, The Babysitter Brings a Friend.
You can find all the links to that at cypherscribe.com.
/books.
Yes.
That works.
Can I give a couple shout-outs? Do you mind?
Oh, absolutely. Go
Give
for it.
1,000 shout-outs.
There were, I stopped writing for a long time, and the Rogan board really helped me get back in the groove, and I still have a long way to go to get my skill level up to where I want it to be, but K.A. Harris was a big inspiration.
Oh, fantastic author. I've read all of his Kindle, all of his work you can find on Amazon. It's all tremendous. It's my type of just silly humor type books. Highly recommend it. Obviously not as much as I recommend our guest book, but K.A. Harris is tremendous.
I would like, and also I wish he'd start publishing his stuff, but Vern was a big inspiration to me also. His storytelling is off the charts.
Yeah.
He had some prolific threads, and it's funny because I had read them well before I met him in Tiny Chat, and now we're great friends now. And I never put it together until like the last couple months, and that was him typing these things out.
Panda, have you been to the restroom yet?
What?
you were supposed to go to the restroom, and you're a little too drunk to be on recorded audio. So,
wow. Okay.
And
hey,
Brent Michael Kelly also. He's Spicy Hambone on the Rogan board, but his books are good too, and he's been an inspiration to me also.
Oh, really? What does he write about?
He's got a series that I call them the Chuggy books, but Chuggy is a character of his that's he'll probably kill me for not describing it well, but he's kind of a drunkard that gets into awkward situations. It's like fantasy horror, but they're really entertaining books, and I highly recommend them.
Right on. What was the name again?
His name is Brent Michael Kelly, and Chuggy, Chuggie. If you search for Chuggy, you'll find him. Awesome.
And since we're promoting all the authors we know, Jonathan Parks still out there. He's been a guest on the show before. His book, I Am John Sullivan, very good. It's about
yes, transition.
Yeah, Jonathan Parks. And I remember this because you talked about the Chuggy character who was a drunkard. John Sullivan is also a drunkard, but he happens to kill people.
Yeah.
So it's I'm going to guess that it's a much different type of book, but very good.
Yeah.
And I know it
Chuggy kills people too, but he doesn't like to.
Oh, okay.
He's the embodiment of drought. He can suck up moisture within miles around. His books are badass. They're very creative.
Awesome. I'll be sure to check that out.
Really like to give shout outs, and those people really inspired me to get back into writing. And
awesome.
And of course the Rogan Board Book Club too. Shout out to Rumple.
Yes, our Irish potato bro. He's a good friend of the show. All right. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yep. And see you guys next time.
Do you like computers? Do you like to dance? Do you like crazy rhythm? Do you date fucking trance? Do you date pop culture and what it does to your head? Grab a beer, go online, rock with me instead.